你是不是经常被 Reorg 这个组织重组搞得挺焦虑的？昨天还是原老板的嫡系，换了个老板就被边缘化了。本来已经几乎板上钉钉的升职，突然被通知再观察观察，甚至连 scope 都被砍了。这种职场冷宫的感觉，是不是让你开始怀疑你这个新老板是不是就是存心想挤你走呢？那真是老板一换，心力憔悴。昨天嫡系，今天白费，提拔没戏，直击倒退，自己的一亩三分地被人家砍得一地稀碎。我是麦克老李，前亚马逊总监，大家听我这口音也知道我是哪人了哈。在 Reorg 的时候，感觉新老板不信任你，你需要的第一性原理就叫 radical objectivity。就是你需要 separate what's being said and how it's being said。就几年前，我的下属也经历过这种职场至暗时刻。当时他从我的直属下属降到了阁级下属，升职也被推迟了。他就每天在这个焦虑里头推测他新老板的意图，而我就是这个新老板。我最近和我这个原下属 Amanda 做了一个公开课，讲怎么转变老板对你的印象，从领导跟下属这两个上帝视角彻底复盘一下，他是如何通过 radical objectivity， 也就是这个极致客观性，在动荡时期拿回主动权的。如果你经历过或者是身处 Reorg 的漩涡里头，接下来这个复盘，我建议你看到最后。
From Amanda, your perspective, how would you describe that period? How did it feel like? And specifically, what are the things that you did to diagnose what's needed and navigate through that kind of ambiguous period?
Yeah, so when this org change happened, myself and all my team moved under Mike's team, and there were a lot of differences, to say the least, in terms of structure and systems that were in place that were all good things, but just different from what I was used to, at least. And then I also had my promotion quarter bumped out a little bit too. So at the time that was frustrating, and I was getting feedback that I hadn't gotten before, which I think people can relate to, being surprised, even if you agree with some of the context. And then I moved to being your skip level report after being your direct. So kind of went back to being nested under another one of your senior managers, which at the time didn't bother me necessarily, but as my peers started pointing it out, it became something I started to think twice of. Like they would say, do you feel like a sub senior manager? Do you feel like Mike moved you because he doesn't like you? And then those things can really start to get into your head and affect the way that you read into these types of conversations. So I started having to focus on what we call like radical objectivity, which is separating like what is being said from how it's being said. And if the feedback is coming from somewhere, it's their perception, which is their reality. And so you have to be able to unpack what's true and what's not, and not be defensive in taking that, because at the time I very much was. And so then I quickly learned what didn't work throughout this situation as it continued to unfold, which are the tips now that I get to give to other people. So I was the sacrificial lamb for this, but starting with not venting to coworkers. So if you gossip to people on your team or in your building, it pretty much always gets back to the boss. You might think you have a friend and a confidant in situations with like a shared frustration, but if there's any kind of competitiveness or angle that someone wants to use to make themselves feel superior to you, this is a way that they will do it, is running and telling Mike what Amanda is saying and what they've heard. And then taking the feedback, sort of what I already talked about, from a non-personal lens. So really just look at the facts of what's being said and not reading into the situation. And then I like to use the analogy of keeping my side of the street clean. So in controlling the controllables, what can I do and how I show up, deliver on deadlines, and communicate proactively is all on my plate. So none of that can be blamed on Mike or on my boss at the time. That's 100% how I show up. So focusing on that helped a lot as well. And usually in these situations, the issue isn't competence or if you're able to do your job. Most of the time, you're promoted or hired because you can do the job as well as, if not better than, the current employee landscape. So it's figuring out how you can show that to your boss. So I was struggling on how to show Mike, like, I swear I'm good at this and I can do it. I just need you to see what I'm trying to accomplish, which is where the friction was coming from. What worked is watching my peers. So seeing how they would interact with Mike, and if there was any like work or approaches that would be taken from one of my peers and rolled out to the rest of the team, that was an indicator to me of what Mike was wanting to see in those scenarios.
I think like the things that you talk about, reflecting on it, I did notice I would say probably a dramatic difference, even though the things that Amanda talked about are very subtle. The differences are not small.